Hey folks, welcome back for more inZOI news and updates, and there's a lot to cover here. As mentioned in the title, I have a list of Sims 4 DLCs that are either confirmed or rumored to be in inZOI's base game. I need a preface here that despite trying to draw direct comparisons, it's important and perhaps goes without saying, this will be like comparing apples? Damn it. It'll be like comparing apples to oranges. Yes, inZOI and The Sims, or more specifically The Sims 4, are similar in that they are both life sim games. Yet, there's a stark difference even by their given design philosophy that separate them enough where just comparing content to content may be a bit misleading. For example, The Sims has always been this zany, quirky, not too serious take on life simming since its inception. That's its brand. inZOI's take on life simming is that of a fun, slice-of-life journey through unique challenges given their simulation. Hold for car. Always holding for car. Anyways, inZOI's meant to be highly customizable so that for each save, it tells its own stories, whether that be through their in-game engine or through your use of their sliders. With that in mind, you just sort of have to ask yourself, like, what gameplay features do each of these unique base games bring in order to make that experience fulfilled through their gameplay loop? Speaking strictly on The Sims 4 here, they believe that previous expansions were just too much content to provide, so they've decided to sell it in parts for The Sims 4. They're doing that because they believe their core gameplay is enough to justify that sell. With that in mind, let's just take a brief look at what inZOI plans on including in their base game. I'll break it down further when we're more into the video, but it's important, I think, to recognize how including some of these features that would equate to The Sims 4 expansions would sort of be unfair to both parties. So inZOI is going to include pets, enhanced cooking gameplay, cars, weather, crime and punishment, etc. Again, I'll get more into it later in the video, but the point I'm trying to make here is that in order to have a fulfilling slice of life gameplay loop that they're striving for, you can kind of make the argument that they have to include features like this, and perhaps more, in order to have an enriching gameplay experience. Yes, we can say they're doing this to separate themselves by giving you, the consumer, more value. Yet, from what I'm seeing, it's not just about value proposition, okay? I feel like it's about taking the life sim genre to the next level and including what some may think are no-brainer features that would only add to the fun of your base game. So where does that leave us in regards to these comparisons then? Well, they're not going to be exact for logistical reasons, i.e. inZOI may release more updates down the line, or The Sims 4 might do pack reworks, but more broadly, the parcels or breadth of content that find its way into inZOI may not look exactly as the whole Sims 4 DLC. So I hope that makes sense. Now that's my intro for this video. I know there's a lot of complaints about like, Jan, your intros are way too long. We hate you. But I'm like, I'm not just dragging this out, okay? This is like my only chance to actually talk to you. So this is me talking to you. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, I feel like it's necessary to preface all of this just so we're on the same page here. Now, before I begin, I want to give a special thank you to all these videos that I'm posting up right now so that you can see them. All these videos helped me tremendously in my research. I think I also have a Reddit post that I looked into. All my sources will be in the description. I encourage you to watch those videos to go alongside this one because I'll do a lot of implying in this video, otherwise this one would be very, very long. But check out these videos that are up there right now. Again, links in the description for all of them if you want to get more familiarized with the gameplay. Some of these will be from folks who basically played the games themselves, so that'll give you much more intimate knowledge, better than I could ever hope for, better than I could ever dream of. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. All right, so for this video, for the sake of my own sanity, I've split this up into parts, and I'm hoping that'll make it easier to talk about. Timestamps below if you haven't seen that already. So this first part is seasons and weather, and they are included in inZOI's base game. Much of that would be navigated through sliders. Seasons and weather will also bring different challenges, such as the importance of wearing appropriate attire. There are preset attires that your Zois can wear. So your Zois can catch illness if they're not wearing the appropriate attire, and as we know, health is important in inZOI as sickness can spread. So on whole, there's going to be a variety of sliders and options like fire prevention, city cleanliness, dream occurrences, etc. that we can play around with. and inZOI is very much about giving you that flexibility for playing your ideal story, as well as providing you with challenges through gameplay. So I can kind of guess what kind of Sims 4 DLCs would be kind of around this category. I want to say that the Sims 4 DLCs that would incorporate some of this in some capacity would be like Seasons, Island Living, and Snowy Escape, or at the very least a variety of features in those packs are included in inZOI's base game. Again, it's not tit for tat here, right? Because there's a lot more gameplay associated with Seasons and weather that you wouldn't typically see out of a Sims 4 DLC, right? So the season mechanic is definitely not an afterthought here. The dev team over at inZOI seems eager to make this a standout feature and perhaps a standout reason why you would choose inZOI over The Sims 4. Now let's talk about cities and activities. And as a gentle reminder, cities in inZOI, as we know it, work differently compared to The Sims 4. For example, activities, active careers are restricted from city to city at this time. Each city will have its own unique style and area-specific locales that'll affect what your Zoi can do. It's important to note what we've seen through content creator gameplay is of two cities, South Korean-inspired city Dongwon, which looks more like a metropolis, and Bliss Bay, based on the coastal city Santa Monica in California. As you'll expect from a coastal city, you'll be able to take full advantage of the beach side through various activities, and the devs have said swimming is planned. The iconic amusement park on the pier will also be featured in Bliss Bay, and as of the early builds of the game, all that stuff can be accessed, especially the coaster rides. In Dongwon, there are a variety of stores, parks, and high-rise structures, many of which you can customize. As mentioned by the dev team, they plan to allow you to really create and edit the many buildings that they have lots for. This, of course, opens up the gameplay in terms of build mode and further customizing an existing building to your liking. And from gameplay, we've seen how build mode is so versatile and user-friendly with AI tools to match, and you'll be able to import and edit real-world items into our world, into the fake world, into their world, and much of it is the way of images and pictures right now. We know another city is in the mix, an Indonesian-inspired city called Kahaya. As of right now, we don't know specifics other than that, but you can assume it'll work in a similar way in terms of activities and culturally local variety. With all of these diverse features in mind, you can kind of assume a degree of Sims 4 DLCs to sort of make up this gameplay. I'd say city living, jungle adventure, outdoor retreat are kind of resembled here. Not exactly, of course, but you can assume some features along this line will be available over time or over the course of development. In terms of activities, I'd say fitness stuff, because we've seen a variety of gym equipment and fitness apparel. I'm also tossing in toddler stuff here because while some playground and activities were not available to the content creators' build of the game, they've been slated to be a working feature in development. So yeah, I'm just gonna put that in here as well. All right, so active careers. This is a great point of interest, especially to Kejun, whose major experiences come from RPG games, so you can imagine this to be a focal point in your Zoi's development. Since jobs are separated by city, we have to break them down in that way. So for Bliss Bay, we've got an office worker, field worker, cashier, shop worker, furniture store employee, and a food chain worker. Now, it's worth noting here that there's a variety of sub-jobs within some of these jobs. For example, for a furniture store employee, I believe you can be an employee and you can also be like a manager of a furniture store. In Dongwon, we have, a K-pop trainee, a firefighter, a convenience store worker, or you can work at a restaurant. Again, all of these are active careers, meaning you have to complete various tasks in order to level up or get promoted. I say level up. Why did I write level up? Why did you say promoted there? Anyways, the better you do at work, the quicker you can climb up towards promotion. Oh, that's why, because that was the following line of the script. Anyways, as of right now, from the content creator's gameplay, you couldn't actually fast forward these job roles. This definitely, in my opinion, needs to be looked at, especially for people playing multifamily households. It's also important to keep in mind that the tasks and activities and even the amount of jobs are not set in stone. More definitely can be on the way. One of the more significant features that The Sims 4 innovated on was multitasking. Sure, it was buggy at times, but it was definitely a welcomed feature. Being able to have your sim eat and talk or do a task while talking to another sim was a game changer. I mentioned that here because activities will play an integral role in your ZOI's life, and I'm hoping to see something to that effect in inZOI. Schedules, routines, the smart ZOI functionality, all of that correlates to how your ZOIs will interact with the world around them. And in regards to active careers, it'll be important to add engaging tasks to keep each interaction unique and fun to play. The tasks we have so far are pretty standard, such as cleaning up a given area, tasks on a computer, and other errands. If I'd had to pull various Sims 4 DLCs together to sort of explain away some of these features, it would be get to work, get famous, and dine out. And while owning a restaurant has yet to be confirmed, it does feel like a natural progression as editing build lots, businesses, and active careers. It sort of looks like it's going to be a strong focus. I'm calling this next part social, family, and life stages. So this is going to be the make or break for a lot of folks, the crux of things, if you will, and rightfully so. At the heart of all things life sim is how relationships sort of break down, grow, and generally how do they work. And depending how they work in inZOI might determine whether you decide to even play the game yourself. With all things considered, I'd say it's pretty much similar to The Sims 4. I think The Sims 4, for the most part, has stayed true to the idea of previous iterations, and that family plays a huge role in the life sim genre, and it took a lot of me not to do this Vin Diesel family joke that I wrote in the script. It's not very good, but why am I mentioning it? This video is already long as it is, and my voice is giving out. That said, there are what we would consider Sims 4 DLCs that have seemingly made its way into inZOI's base game. Who would have thunk it? I think there's a bit of everything here, more specifically get together, growing together, parenthood, laundry day stuff, and a slew of other things I'm sure that I'm missing. Laundry day stuff, and although that might seem mundane, it's actually really cool. Take my word for it. Kidding, of course. But not only is it immersive, it actually does give you more things to do with your ZOI, or I guess in The Sims, it gives you more things to do in The Sims, which just helps it feel much more, helps make the game feel much more fleshed out. But relating this back to inZOI, there are washing machines in inZOI, and you're gonna have to clean up your place, and perhaps there'll be various cleaning appliances, rumored, not confirmed. Next, we have Get Together, in which you can have clubs and activities you can do as a group. And from what we've seen of inZOI, it does look like they may make use of that as well. There are various ways to have group activities, and it seems like the use of your ZOI's phone will play an integral role in that. What we know is that if your ZOI is seen cheating on their partner, rumors will spread. So this kind of indicates how deep relationships can be in inZOI. For example, how do all these different relationships connect? In the same coin, group dynamics are featured a lot in the trailers, and it'll be interesting to see how that's explored throughout development. We've seen the gameplay, but whether it's a different included feature entirely has yet to be seen, at least from what I've looked at. Growing together seems to be present in inZOI's base game as well. There's various milestones your ZOIs can hit as they grow up. You have different life stages, you have playground activities, dynamic relationships. There's just so much that if you're familiar with those packs, you might see them in the different gameplay trailers or gameplay that different content creators have made. If you're familiar with them, you might see them there. We also have various confirmed life stages. I'll go ahead and post it now for you to see. Special thank you to a cotton sock for the timetable. The life stages are newborn, toddler, child, adolescent, teenager, young adult, middle-aged, and senior. Do keep in mind that the length of time in live mode has been changed and further modified to allow for a better player experience. Kjun stated in a dev blog that you can sort of picture the time working like this: 24 real minutes would equal 1 inZOI day, 48 real minutes would equal 1 inZOI day. These are all different ways to modify it and customize it for your own liking. You can have 96 real minutes equal 1 inZOI day, which is the default. You have 4 real hours that can equal 1 inZOI day. And then you can have a 1-for-1, 24 real hours for 1 inZOI day. We'll see if time is still something they're working on, especially with the impact of your ZOI's lifespan. Alright, so this is the kind of the last part of the video here. I was unsure where to place this. This is more of like the miscellaneous stuff, but I'm calling this part a little bit of everything. Okay, so we have pets, we've confirmed that. The cats and dog expansion, I guess you would call it for The Sims 4. The animals confirmed in inZOI are cats, dogs, squirrels, foxes, crocs, and pandas, because why not? And some of these animals you can adopt, maybe all of them, unconfirmed. But inZOI's got pets, and you can imagine there'll be items, clothing, interactables to be associated with that. Also, there are mentions of eco-friendly activities that you can do, like picking up trash to improve your karma, and this would be a group activity. There's possible wellness activities like yoga, so packs I want to include here, bits and parcel, are like spa day or eco lifestyle, perhaps a variety of stuff packs. We know that cooking will play a substantial role in the game, especially with their boost effects, ingredients, possible grocery store management in terms of making sure your fridge is full. So perhaps home chef hustle stuff and cool kitchen stuff will find its way into inZOI's base game, because we know that cooking appliances will be pretty important in inZOI. As for the paranormal, we know ghosts will be making their way into inZOI. They'll be associated with the karma system in some way, and ghosts will only spawn under strict conditions. As far as werewolves, vamps, and magic and all that, Keijun is actually open to those ideas, although they don't seem to be a core focus in terms of the base game, so to speak. He's interested to gauge how people would feel about that in inZOI, but it's not the most prioritized thing that they're working on. At least that's the way he explained it in the dev blog. For more on that, you can go ahead and check the video that I made on that. I'll go ahead and link that also in the description, as well as you can find that in their Discord. I mean, I guess when it comes to stuff pack, you can say again, like there's just a little bit of everything. There's like tiny living stuff maybe. There's where is it? Vintage glamour stuff, backyard stuff. A lot of this is a wait and see kind of thing, because that's more aesthetic and additional just items. And we don't know specifically the base stuff yet in terms of what inZOI has in their build mode. I know that I'm missing a lot more here, so if you've seen gameplay stuff that I might have missed that reminds you of Sims 4 DLC, please let me know in the comments below and let us all know, because I think it'll be a fun comparison to sort of draw from. But as mentioned earlier, it's really difficult to make these direct comparisons. You can take bits and parcel of features here and there, but for the most part, in terms of thinking about it as big expansions or DLCs that are in inZOI's base game, it's kind of hard to navigate that, if you know what I mean. But at any rate, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate that, and I appreciate you, and I hope to see you in the next video, whatever the next video may be. So until then, I will see you then. Bye for now. Looking at the Sims 4 DLC list was pretty apocalyptic. Like $1,000+ is wild. I know for the most part, it's not from the standpoint of, you know, that you're buying all of the expansions all at once, right? The given at the time when the game wasn't free was that you owned at least like 50% of them or whatever. And now that the base game is free, you know, you're encouraged to get DLC for it, because you feel like you want to spend money that equates to that. And also there's that marketing FOMO stuff, right? Like the fear of missing out that they really prey on and exploit people for. You know, what I find interesting though is that if you, let's just take the base game out of it, right? It's a free game now. If you still want to be like, well, it's a free game, you just have to pay $1,400 for all these additional features, is absolutely wild. And you know, I'm no better, okay? I haven't fired up The Sims 4 in a long time, but I looked at my account because I just had to, and I was like, oh my god, I spent hundreds of dollars on this freaking game. The amount of hours I've dumped into it as well, because it's not even just like I loved it or anything. Like, you have to think about it this way, at least from someone who is like into life sims like myself. Like, it was the only one that played in that way, and that's like the only game. If I want to have a life sim, I would play The Sims. That's it. There's no other competitor. Of course I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars on DLC just to give myself some enjoyment through the game, and now we might have inZOI that does it through the base game, which is just wild. But you know, I also want to caution restrain. Sometimes I'll see comments, whether they be trolly comments or not, but for the most part, I'll see like comment that says like fake game or whatever. I don't mind that comment because I'm not running defense for Crafton. I'm like, or the inZOI team. Like I'm not their mouthpiece. All right. But I kind of get the sentiment, you know, because if you're into life sims, and if The Sims was your only life sim, Sims 4, moreover, because the thing is, the reason why I don't try to include 3, 2, and 1 was because their expansion packs came out during a time where, first off, they were whole expansion packs or feature-rich content in expansion packs. But also, you have to sort of think about it this way. Back in those days, and I say back in those days, which sucks because I'm like dating myself, but back in those days, expansion packs meant something. Like, expansion packs were the alternative to making a new game, because so you're basically, you know, there's a bunch of stuff you want to include in your base game, but you didn't have time to include it, whatever, or maybe you thought about it later, and so you made this feature-rich expansion, and then you included that in your base game. So that was kind of a big deal. It was a staple. And then eventually, when you ran out of those ideas, you would just make a whole new game, which was totally fine. Like, everybody loved that because it would imply that your new game would be better than the first and would have more features than the first and look better than the first and innovate better than the first did, or whatever previous iteration you had. That's why I don't try to include 1, 2, and 3 in my criticisms, because they were a product of their time. The Sims 4 is a product of our time. Like, it's in the now, and it's just wild to me how they can just milk these things right now. So, you know, I still keep up with the Sims 4 news. I still will play the Sims 4. Like, I might even just fire it up right now after this video. But the thing is, they've just updated the game to have burglars. 10 years too late. Like, it's almost like that ship has sailed for me. I thought it was cool because I was like, ooh, more challenges, more gameplay. And then I like watched Satchon Sims play it, and then I felt so underwhelmed. When The Sims 4 released and I was playing it for the first time and I found out there were no burglars, that freaking broke my heart. Because I want to have fun, and I want challenge, and I want to be under threat into some capacity. 10 years later, can you imagine if I had told myself 10 years later? You know, I would be so mad at future me, being like, first off, how are you still playing this game? Secondly, get a job. No, but seriously, if I could go back in time and say, January, just wait 10 years. They'll eventually release it. I'd have been like, you gotta be kidding me. I don't know. Look, I'm just ready for inZOI, and I really hope it turns out well. I mentioned this in my last video. If inZOI doesn't do well, that's bad for gaming. That's like bad for the industry, because it reaffirms these just real scummy exploitative behavior that not just the Sims do, okay? Like, I know I'm really making that as a critique here because it's only direct comparison, but for the most part, you know, games like Baldur's Gate 3 can almost feel like an anomaly, but the fact of the matter is they're not. It's just about how much money you want to make versus trying to get all the money that's out there. Anyway, I'm probably not making sense anymore. If you stayed around for this long, I want to give you a warm thank you for that. My videos tend to drag and to be a lot more interpersonal than they are informative. So if you're still here, thank you, and try to have a good one. Until the next one, bye for now.